You always look at these situations when you've got a quantum shift. You got Chris Bosh, a franchise player, leaving the fold. What do you actually have? How is it going to unfold for you?
People had us being one of the worst teams in the league and stuff, and that was motivation for our young players.
Sonny Weems got it! Money shot! Bargnani with the cut. Oh, what a pretty play! In the bucket. Here's Pierce. Fading shot for the win. No! Raptors win it. Short-handed and all.
We're feeling pretty confident about where we are. The unfortunate part was that that's right around the time that the injuries hit.
You know, you hate to say Reggie was it, but it sort of was the downward spiral after that.
We definitely lost too many games. It was really frustrating.
It became pretty obvious very quickly that we were headed toward that rebuild project that we've tried to avoid, but it was time to do it.
DeRozan with a slam dunk. James Johnson, oh, how high can you fly? Amir Johnson, Davis with the thunderous slam. Dallas driving, wheeling and dealing and finishing.
Everybody getting the opportunity to play this year is going to pay dividends in the future.
And with the development of those young players, I like the direction. Those guys are getting better. It's going to be growth, but it's going to be growth that's going to be accelerated because of the season that we had this year.
Welcome into the Toronto Raptors season in review. I'm David Amber. After saying goodbye to the franchise's all-time leading scorer and rebounder in Chris Bosh, as well as adding 6 new players to the roster, the Toronto Raptors realized this was a transition season as they headed out west for their training camp to Vancouver, British Columbia, getting set for the 2010-2011 season with a brand new focus.
I think the focus was growth, moving in the right direction. Of course, we had to truly ascertain what we had.
We have to work hard. Nobody's going to give us anything. We don't have experience. We don't have a lot of veteran players that can carry this team. So we're all going to have to do it together.
I don't know if anybody was really sure what the team was going to have. Everybody knew there was some talent here, but how far you could go, how good you can be, I don't think anybody really was too sure of that.
Not only are you going to need the productivity of the first 5, but you're also going to have major impact off of the bench.
Especially with, with the young players and with some of the question marks you had coming into camp.
I thought the focus of training camp was to try to become a team that was a very competitive group, a team that prided itself on effort and on defense, and just finding a way to become a group that would stay together and fight through adversity.
Just to go hard in training camp, get to know all the new players, and being open-minded by learning the system and stuff like that, as in what coach wants from a defense and an offensive standpoint.
It's going to have to be done through teamwork. It's going to have to be done through our development of our younger players, and it's going to have to be done through hard work. And I think our training camp started off that way, and I think those are trademarks that kind of extended throughout the season. We're going to be the fighter that never goes away every single game. All right? And we have the personnel to do it, and we've set the standard for the first 4 days as that people don't respect us, and by the time they finish playing the game against us, they're going to respect us.
We did, use it as motivation at the beginning of the season. The analysts like we're going to be last, at the end of the East, but we just took that as motivation, and we wanted to build off that.
When you don't have a name guy on your roster going into training camp, obviously people don't think you can be successful, and I think they were able to overcome that mentality to a certain extent.
Well, we knew we got to be like a really good team, better than ever. And we knew it was kind of like a rebuilding year. We got a lot of young guys.
Our young guys came into training camp and worked extremely hard. We were very organized and prepared.
We knew we was coming in the season young. one of the young teams in the NBA. And it was a year for us to get better and kind of prove something, and I think we did.
That was the main thing, getting better and create players that were going to be ready, to do something big in the future.
I think, even our optimism at the end of training camp, playing the Phoenix Suns and winning by 20-something points in the first preseason game was like verification that, this could be a pretty good team. And keep playing like this, we're going to be okay.
Right at the rim, Jose finds DeRozan.
But after returning home and beginning the year 1-1, the Raptors quickly found themselves back out west, embarking on a difficult 4-game road trip that got their season off to a rocky start.
The Raptors fall 111-108, a heartbreaker. The Utah Jazz come away with a victory, and the Raptors fall to 0-4 on this road trip.
Well, I think when you go back to the early portion of the schedule, when you look at that schedule, you know that you are in for it early on. This was a team that was headed out west after their first 2 games, and they were 1-1. And that is very difficult to do early in the season for any team.
Some people say get that trip out of the way early because maybe it gives you a chance early in the season to build camaraderie, and you're away from friends and family at home. You got a chance to bond with your teammates that much more on the road. But at the end of the day, it's about wins and losses, not camaraderie.
You can't control the schedule. It is tough to have a young team and go out on the West Coast and play good quality teams right off the bat.
I think Toronto didn't have that role definition early, and then to boot, they were out on the road, and I think that's why they had a tough start to the season.
If we look at all them games, we definitely fought every game. Every game was a close game. We were out there playing against some of the top teams and really putting up a fight, but it was definitely discouraging at the same time.
You get yourself stuck in that hole early on, it's tough to dig out, and it took them quite a while to kind of get out of that hole.
Getting out of that hole meant making a roster move with hopes of getting the Raptors back on track. As the seasons changed, so did the Raptors roster. Brian Colangelo shaking things up at the end of November.
That locker will soon be occupied by Jared Bayless after the 5-player deal between the Raptors and the New Orleans Hornets. Jose Calderon is now the starting point guard.
Jose Calderon is put in a better situation, and an interesting one, going from almost traded in the summertime to now being the lead point guard for the Raptors.
We really did have an issue at point guard. I think both guys wanted to be starters. They both said they were comfortable coming off the bench, but at the end of the day, Jose wasn't playing like himself, and I think once the trade happened, he was much more relaxed, much more at ease, played with much more confidence, and you started to see the Jose that we all know and love.
It changed Jose. I mean, I think there was always an indecisiveness between who was going to be the point guard, who was going to play the majority of minutes and so on. And when we just handed the reins over to Jose, he took the team under his wing. The locker room became very tight and as good as any locker room that I've been involved with.
He came out leading us. You definitely know what everybody on the floor likes the ball, and he's our leader, and he got that ball in his hand. I gotta be honest, it was great to be back to playing 30+ minutes per night and try to do my thing, and I feel really comfortable. I was back to a couple of years ago before the injuries, and it was really good.
People really don't talk about was the fact that he was finally healthy. He's had some rough years, and to that point, he was finally healthy, finally ready to play.
And with Jerry, it was great. It was a great young guy to talk to try to make him learn, and he was great. He was ready. He listened a lot. He proved the last 4 games. These 4 games I didn't play. He played really good basketball.
His leadership, I think, has been the most positive attribute that he brings to his team. He's never down. He's always upbeat and bringing positive energy to his team. And that's one thing I learned from him. And from the basketball standpoint, he does so many things. Passing the ball, shooting the ball. There's so many things you can take away from his game. But I think his leadership was the biggest thing that I took away.
If you're a guy that likes team play, if you're a guy that respects having a teammate that is so selfless you got to love him. I mean, who wouldn't love to play with this guy?
He's always one of those guys that's, a high assist, low turnover guy, runs your club well, gets the ball to other people. And I think at times that's almost a fault for Jose because he's a good scorer. He can be a good scorer and a great decision maker. And I think at times he's not as aggressive as he could be because he's looking to get other guys involved.
He's a wonderful point guard who I think has reemerged this year. I think he's more comfortable. His leadership, his charisma, his personality. I was really impressed with the season he had.
As the team began to come together, there were some inspiring moments, including some memorable upsets, showcasing the collective heart and competitive spirit of this young Raptors team.
To Sonny, straight line drive, Sonny wings, bucket!
Andrea gets Mullins to bunt. Bargnani sticks it, 26. Turn out the lights, the party's over!
We had a newness to the season, and I think every team entering a season has a sense of expectation or freshness. And we talked a lot about, proving some of the doubters wrong.
You knew that this team could compete. You knew that if everybody played together, the team was healthy, you had a little luck, you could compete.
That's what we showed. We can compete against everybody. We beat the really good teams at home, on the road.
Everybody definitely stepped up their game and wanted to play. We definitely took on challenges when they came our way, and we showed what type of team we could be when we really all play together.
Lowry, denied by Amir Johnson. Andre and Sonny with the throwdown.
Sometimes we locked down on defense and we really got into our man, and that's when we started to play real well.
When Toronto came back after the win over Orlando and then to win at home against Boston, those are a couple of top teams in the East, and all of a sudden they're feeling good about themselves.
I think that the times we saw them play extremely well against a quality competition was kind of a glimpse into what they could be at some point.
You look at this team at pretty much the quarter pole, they were 8-11. Now, that's not anything necessarily to write home about. You're still below 500, but you're right in the mix, 3 games below 500.
I think it was the combination of Bargnani scoring and Reggie Evans doing the things that Bargnani doesn't do.
Reggie Evans was going out every night, getting you 12, 15, 18 rebounds, and doing a lot of the dirty work, which enabled Andrea Bargnani to be freed up more offensively and created more space for him on the floor overall to do his thing.
The team just played with great togetherness and grit.
I just think it was the good chemistry that we had and that starting unit playing together.
Whether it was their youth and they didn't know any better, or whether it was just kind of a new attitude overall this year with more of a commitment to playing together and to having each other's backs that, some of the players admitted this year that maybe wasn't always the case last season.
When we looked at it 20 games in or 19 games in and we're 8-11, we're doing a lot better than people had expected. We're feeling pretty confident about where we are. The unfortunate part was that's right around the time that the injuries hit.
Reggie Evans, you see him being assisted by trainer Scott McCullough walking back toward the locker room. And remember his history against Boston with his injuries, and you just hope that it is nothing serious. Reggie Evans.
Unfortunately, the injuries hit quite often this season, and I think Reggie Evans going out of the lineup had a significant impact in terms of just taking the energy level down a notch, taking the level of grit down a notch. And you could see when he's in the lineup, this team was a different team. They're very competitive.
When he goes down, that's a big chunk of rebounds that are now available.
Reggie definitely, he was one of our big leaders. He's the most, vocal, out of everybody. When he talks, everybody listens. Me, as a player that I am, I like to cheer my guys on, make sure they're in the right state of mind, and make sure they're having fun and working hard on the court. So a lot of times I always talk to them and stuff. So I wasn't there. So a lot of times they'll come to me and be like, "Dang, I wish you was there just to talk to us and stuff like that."
When he's out of the lineup, it made it more difficult to ask people, so many young players, to play at a level where they're not ready yet as professionals to play at.
So Reggie, when he went down, that really hurt us. And I had myself, man, with a couple injuries. When I went down, it was just everybody, back to back, and it just kind of, and we just kind of like fell off. That kind of like made the season real unbalanced and stuff like that, where we couldn't get no consistency and keeping players healthy and stuff.
You know, you hate to say Reggie was it, but it really did seem to be like that was the trigger point where things sort of went south after that injury.
And with their floor leader out, the spotlight intensified on Andrea Bargnani. After years of playing in Chris Bosh's shadow, Andrea Bargnani became the focal point of the Raptors' offense, a new experience for the fifth-year player.
Andrea was a different player this year, and he had to be, because he became the primary focus of our offense.
I think Andre did a good job of just stepping into that new role. Knowing Chris was not there, I think he was consistent at what he did. He drew a lot of double team. He played inside out. You know, I think he did a good job.
You know, he adjusted well. You know, he came out, he was our leader. You know, everything went through him, and he definitely showed it. You know, we fed off him a lot. You know, everything went through him, and, you know, once he got it going, then we followed right behind him.
He scored a lot. He won some games for us. You know, we know he's going to be our guy in the scoring areas, and he did it. You know, I think he gets better on that aspect. He did not only shooting, he was more inside as well, and he's getting better like everybody. I think he's 21 points or something like that. It's not easy to do in the NBA.
The focus on him defensively all the time puts him in a tough situation.
It was more difficult for me compared to last year, especially offensively, because, you know, the opposite team was focused on me because I was the main guy. So it was more difficult for me to score.
In the past, Andrea was the recipient of Chris Bosh double teams, or Chris Bosh rolling to the basket and people being aware and the ball being swung to him and him being able to just find a way to shoot the ball.
No, with Chris it was much easier because, you know, you just have to wait the ball, you just have to wait the double team coming to him. So it was a different situation.
This year is different. Everybody put their best defender on him in the front court.
I had to learn, you know, a different way, different moves to score the ball.
He had to take some guys down to the low block, and he did that. He had to take some out to the perimeter. He had to learn how to put the ball on the floor better. He had to learn how to be a primary scorer, and he did that.
I think when you look at Andrea Bargnani, there's no question that he's made another step this year from an offensive perspective. Now, is he a guy that you can build the whole thing around? I think it's pretty much been proven in his time here that he's an outstanding piece, yet he can't be the piece.
Well, he certainly answered the call offensively. He became our highest usage player. But with that, becoming a focal point of someone's offense, some other things, you know, happen.
If he can focus himself on becoming a better rebounder, especially at the defensive end, and a better help side defender, because his defense on the ball is not bad, then that's going to help this team be better. It's going to help him become more well-rounded.
You know, that comes all within, you know, a lot of work out this summer, so I think he's going to have a big summer working out.
We've given him a task every year, and he's come back and he's worked at it. This year, he got caught up in being the primary scorer and not maybe being as focused at the defensive end, and that needs to change.
There needs to be, you know, some effort given there and some focus to that, and he knows and recognizes that.
There are stretches and there are games where I've seen him engage as a rebounder and I've seen him engage as a defender. He can do it. There is no doubt in my mind Andrea Bargnani can do all those things and be a complete player. It's on him.
It's something that he's got clearly the talent to do. It's a matter of putting it all together focus-wise.
I'm pretty sure we'll kind of see a whole new Andrea from even better on offense, even a lot better on defense and stuff. Expect big things out of him next year.
For Bargnani and his young teammates, the dog days of the NBA season had some low points as injuries and losses continued to mount.
Raptors are going to fall now for the 13th consecutive game for the first time since going back to 2002.
As much as the expectations for the Raptors were relatively low this year, I don't think most people thought they'd be 13-37 after 50.
We didn't seem to have what it takes to jump over those hurdles night in and night out, and again, it's a sign of an inexperienced team. For the most part, we were what we were, a team that lacked the experience and the talent to win.
We definitely lost too many games. It was really frustrating.
We never played with everybody on the team at one time.
It's definitely tough because, you know, going in some games not knowing who's starting or who's going to play because of injuries. But, you know, at the same time, we still have to play and fight through it. You never know what can happen, and things like that happen. So it definitely hurt us, but we can't use that as an excuse.
The guys that got hurt and the guys that were hurt and playing through injuries, guys like Reggie Evans and Lennis Kleza, or the guys that were bringing us a toughness that maybe we didn't have before, maybe that our young players don't have. And I think that took its toll.
The extended times that your key guys are out of the lineup, where you're asking other players to step up, maybe 2 notches, in some cases 3 notches, to kind of fill the void that's left. It's just difficult to do.
They have to try and play a little longer, do a little more, because there's something missing. And I know people say, well, you shouldn't be trying to do that, but it's natural. It's a human instinct that when somebody else is missing, you try to pick up the slack.
We have a very deep team, and the losing guy like Linus was used for us.
Well, Lennis Kleza, I thought, was going to be a key part of this team this year. I thought he would be somebody that could put some points on the board, give the Raptors that 3-man they really haven't had. They can rebound and get inside as well.
It was difficult. We've really been unlucky, talking about injury and health of the team.
It's difficult for good teams to overcome, playoff teams, and it's even harder for teams like the Raptors that are just trying to find themselves.
The reality is the margin of error was that slim. It might have been like that.
We were kind of fighting between going up and going down, and that was the moment who, everybody was like, oh, we went down. We couldn't win games, and I think maybe those veterans could maybe change a little bit in that, January, December, when you really need to get focused on win games.
With their season spiraling out of control, the Raptors realized the playoffs weren't within reach.
And the NBA is an unforgiving league. You have to make changes and adjustments on the fly.
At some point, there was a realization that we didn't have the horses, so we said we need to develop these young players. And to some degree, there was even a sense of relief. We knew that there was pain coming in the form of additional losses, but we knew that the team would be at least fun to watch and would get out there and compete.
Let's turn this into a positive. Our young guys are going to have to play. Let's have our young guys play extended minutes. Let's watch them develop. Let's get them the NBA experience that they're going to need in order to help this franchise as we move forward.
I mean, you never want to get an opportunity because one of your teammates due to injury, but you just got to take it and just be thankful and just work hard for it.
I believe we got better. The rest of the young guys, Ed Davis and DeMar, they stepped up, and they held us down.
With so many key injuries, the focus changed for this Raptors team from this year towards the future. And with that in mind, the priority became clear: develop their young players. Join us next week for part 2 of the Raptors season in review, where we examine the maturation of many Raptors stars, including Ed Davis and DeMar DeRozan.
Davis underneath with the two-handed slam. DeRozan with the hammer to the cutting Amir Johnson. Picks up James Johnson. Johnson blows by. Bayless drills his shot. Two-handed slam for Amir Johnson. Amir Johnson. Calderon running. Gives it to Ed Davis and high-five Johnson. James Johnson once again. Bayless right to the rim. Jose sprinting toward the bucket. Has DeRozan on.